And now, the Sons of Liberty show on the CB Media Network.
Due to the graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
We've been fighting a long time, and we have all lost so very much, so many loved ones gone. But you are not alone. There are pockets of resistance all around the planet. We are at the brink.
Now we find ourselves facing a tyranny that has been infused with new blood, and it is rapidly becoming an engorged, hard tyranny. And yes, I know you gutter-minded listeners picked up on that not-so-subtle metaphor. I used it on purpose because a hard tyranny serves one purpose and one purpose only, to screw its subjects. No force, no attitude, no emotion, no nation, no person can hold any modicum of power, much less utter dominion over a sovereign individual, except through the sanction that is given by that individual.
But for me, leading a worldwide depression.
In doing so, we will honor the vows of our founders, who in the Declaration of Independence said that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This legislation will lead to healthier lives, more liberty to pursue hope and dreams and happiness.
Federal government, yes, can and do most anything in this country.
Just who the hell do you think you people are?
There's your dichotomy, folks. Do you want to be treated like children, or do you want to be treated like adults with brains of your own who can make your own decisions? That's the bottom line between new progressivism, which is really old communism, or conservatism, which is what started this great nation. Which hand are you going to choose?
If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
I am your Iron Man of classical liberal thought, Bradley Reese, wielding Occam's razor like a surgeon's scalpel to fillet red herrings, sever Gordian knots, and dissect progs to expose their filthy, steaming, putrescent, lie-filled guts for your amazement, amusement, bewilderment, and finally, hopefully, disgust, because we should all be nauseated at the slightest olfactory intrusion of the stench emanating from those troglodytes. During the course of the week prior, I have been dutifully stoking the fires of truth so as to reach optimal temperature to fry straw men to a crisp and melt down boilerplate to its bare essence, which is usually as dark as the pits of hell itself. So, welcome to the Sons of Liberty show, where the dissemination of information takes a backseat to nothing, save the occasional foray into snark. And actually, I wasn't here last week. Those of you that were sticking around and tuning into the CB Media group here on Spreaker may have heard earlier this evening, as a matter of fact, a little flashback show with Dr. John Parnell and Andrew Klavan that I played earlier this evening. It was quite a bit of a flashback all the way to last summer, summer of 2011. Let me clarify there. But a good show nonetheless. If you missed it, hit the podcast. There were a lot of issues brought up in the summer of 2011 that are still relevant today, and a unique perspective on them, if I do say so myself, from me, Dr. Parnell, and Andrew Klavan as well. So make sure you check that out. Now, I am broadcasting live right now from the Commonwealth of Virginia, where our state motto is Sic Semper Tyrannis, which means thus always to tyrants. And if you've ever seen the logo or the insignia on the flag of the Commonwealth of Virginia, you will understand what thus means and further understand why tyrants generally don't survive thus. And we will leave it at that. Now, I want to get into a few things. This is the pre-election Blitz show, and it's going to be a little bit different than what you may be used to, because Because a lot of people right before the election are going to be talking about various things having to do with the election itself. And I'm not going to do that. This is going to be a little bit strange because I'm not going to be talking about what you should do next Tuesday, what the latest numbers are from this or that battleground state, and why you should care, because frankly, what's going to happen Tuesday, yes, it depends on voter turnout, it depends on which states voters turn out in, and it depends on the Electoral College after that. But the most important thing next Tuesday is not necessarily the presidential election. Yes, I believe firmly, and I have said since '09, that if Barack Obama gets a second term as president of our great republic, you can kiss the republic goodbye. We will become a democracy. And a democracy sliding down the slippery slope to socialism, which generally is what happens in a democracy when the people figure out they can vote themselves largesse from the federal treasury. But the most important thing, honestly, that's going to happen next Tuesday is what happens in the House and Senate races. And that's what needs to be kept in mind. And you can also begin to see a bit of rumbling from Wall Street, of all places, as to how they think the election is going to turn out. And, you know, I've said before, perhaps not on the air, but I've said before, I think it's almost a fait accompli that Mitt Romney wins the presidential election. And the only question is, do the Republicans, I don't say we, but do the Republicans take the Senate? If the Republicans take the Senate, then just about every one of them that's running for the Senate has vowed to repeal Harry Care, which is popularly known as Obamacare. I call it Harry Care because, well, Barack Obama never had a plan for replacing or implementing some sort of quote-unquote fix for our healthcare system. He never had a plan whatsoever. As a matter of fact, the plan that ended up passing was one that Hillary Clinton was espousing in the Democrat primary in '08 and was mocked mercilessly by Barack Obama for suggesting an individual mandate, which ended up being in what is now commonly known as Obamacare. So I call it Harry Care because it was Harry Reid's bill and Nancy Pelosi's bill that eventually ended up passing. Actually, both of them ended up passing. Harry Reid's bill with all the kickbacks and vote-buying schemes to get Democrat senators on board so they would have the numbers they needed to pass it. His bill passed, and then Nancy Pelosi's bill to take out portions of those kickbacks passed afterwards, and both were signed into law by Barack Obama. And also, the reason I call it Harry Care is because it has this nice homonym quality of Harry Carey. Sounds a little bit like Harry Carey, and I'm not talking about the baseball announcer. I'm talking about Japanese honor suicide, which is what some of these Democrat representatives committed when they voted for the thing in the House, because many of them lost their seats as a direct result in the midterm elections in 2010. But what I'm going to be talking about tonight is not so much what you need to do next Tuesday, because I think anyone listening to this show knows what they need to do next Tuesday. And if you're in a state where the Electoral College votes are going to go for Barack Obama anyway, I really don't care who you vote for president. But for God's sakes, get out there and vote in your House and Senate races, because that is going to be, as they say, the tail of the tape. Now, what I'm going to be talking about tonight is a bit of philosophy, because I think no matter what happens next Tuesday, we have a long uphill battle to retain and, well, reattain, maybe would be the correct terminology, reattain the first principles that this nation was founded on. Mitt Romney, sorry, he doesn't have them. He does not espouse our first principles. And Barack Obama, well, don't even need to comment there, do I? Now, I want to talk a little bit about jobs, and this drug testing thing has come up again recently in conversations that I've had, so it needs to be revisited here. The whole oh my goodness, now I can't. Rick Scott, there we go. Rick Scott in Florida, the governor there, who was suggesting drug testing for welfare recipients, etc. This has come up again in conversations that I've had recently, so I want to get into it a little bit and explain that. So, yeah, so listen fast.
In this day and age, folks, you have to understand 47% of the U.S. population pays nothing in taxes. Or, I take that back, 47% of income earners in the United States pay zero in taxes. They are a net drain on the Treasury. We have 47% of income earners who are ostensibly living off of the productive efforts of the other 53% of income earners. And then we can get into the ranks of our population that are not income earners whatsoever, but yet still draw an income. Well, where does that income come from? It comes from the government. No, the government doesn't have money. The government doesn't create jobs. The government doesn't create wealth. The only thing that government creates is a dent in your wallet. Decreasing or increasing the size of government decreases or increases the size of that dent in your wallet, period. Now, I know many people, personally, who are ostensibly wards of the state, meaning the 53% of income earners who actually pay taxes are paying for their food, clothing, shelter, etc. And they're paying for these things through the tax dollars that are confiscated from us before we can even provide food, clothing, and shelter for ourselves or our families. Tell me in what bizarro universe this is acceptable and morally right. I know many of these people that I am supporting. They are dependent on me, and they lay that claim on me even before my children can. And many of these people who lay claim to my productive efforts before my family can lay claim to them. And let's face it, folks, I go to work so that my family can lay claim to the fruits of my efforts, because it is my responsibility as the progenitor of that family to provide for their needs. I know many of these people who use drugs. Why should they be able to seize my sustenance and the sustenance of my family via the heavy hand of government if they have money for drugs? Again, folks, this gets back to a simple rule in economics known as opportunity cost. You have X amount of dollars with which you can purchase item Y or item Z, but not both. When someone offsets X amount of dollars, making it W amount of dollars with which you can purchase item Y and item Z, your opportunity cost goes away. When you have X amount of dollars and you can, say, buy food for your family or buy drugs for yourself,